I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular meeting, Moose Lake City Council for Wednesday, November 13th, 2024 at 4 p.m. And I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We welcome our guests here tonight. Thanks for coming. The next item is the approval of the agenda. Additions and changes. I have two additions. This would be under new business. This would be, first one would be 6P. This is a part-time arena attendant hiring. And number Q, the next one would be Poor Gary's parking delivery spot. Any other changes or corrections?
What was the last one, Ted?
It was Poor Gary's parking delivery spot. Hearing no more changes or corrections, additions, do we have a motion to accept?
So moved.
A second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On to number 2, the consent agenda. This would be 2A. Number 1, regular city council meeting for October 9th, 2024. Number 2 is emergency city council meeting, October 9th, 2024. Number 3 is a special city council meeting, October 30th, 2024. And number 4, the special city council meeting, November 8th, 2024. Any discussion or questions on the minutes? Hearing none, do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On number 2B, the financial reports. Number 1, the city accounts payable for October 2024. Number 2, the city financial statements for October 2024. And number 3, the liquor store profit and loss statements for October 2024. Any questions or discussion on the financial reports? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept the financial reports?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Is that Greg, did you say that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 3 is public comment. This time is reserved for comments from the public on matters not listed on the agenda. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Looks like we have none tonight. Moving on to number 4. Departmental reports. Number 8, the Carleton County Sheriff's Office activity report for October. Welcome.
Thank you. So it looks like our activity report for October 2024. Looks like we had a total of 137 calls for service. 62 of those calls were handled by the contract deputy, 75 by the other county deputies throughout the month of October. As far as self-initiated activity goes, contract deputy completed or did 14 extra patrol detail calls for service, 10 traffic stops, 22 business checks, a community engagement, and public assist. As far as county deputy self-initiated field, self-initiated activity, we had 4 extra patrol details, 5 traffic stops, 2 business checks, a community engagement, 2 public assist, 4 paper service attempts within the city limits of Moose Lake, And then 5 Stone Guard Patrol, which is our federal grant critical infrastructure checks that we do throughout the county. So that's kind of the activity report for October. A little bit of a staffing update that just got finalized today. The .5 secretary position, Sarah Ratzak, completed our hiring process. We have a start date for her of December 2nd. So I have a couple of weeks here of getting some things ready for her to start that role in a couple of weeks. As far as our deputies go, we've got 2 that are about halfway through their field training. We've got a 3rd that will hopefully start in the middle of December, start his field training in the middle of December. So we're hoping of getting at least 1 more deputy down here in Moose Lake under contract sometime middle to end of January is what we're kind of looking at this point. So it's not set in stone yet. Things can still a little bit fluid as far as field training goes, but that's kind of what we're at this point.
Very good. Questions by the council? Hearing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job, thanks.
Thank you.
Moving on to City Superintendent Phil Ettner, Department Report, October 2024.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, administrator roles. Busy month, we're getting ready to go here for winter. I don't know when that's that. I said I really don't like when I say that, but we're getting there. We'll start in the water department as always. Distribute 5.4 million gallons of drinking water in the month of October. We have 2 of the 3 curb stops I mentioned last meeting that we needed to repair. 2 of those were done today. The last one will be done tomorrow. The water system as a whole is completely winterized and ready for winter operation. So that is pretty much put to bed for the winter, as long as we don't have any water breaks. So I'm hoping we don't, but I guess we'll just take them as they come. Sewer department collection system collected 9.8 million gallons of wastewater in the month of October. Lift station biennial cleaning and maintenance checks were completed 2 weeks ago. We should have maintenance logs to give you a packet for December for those. The treatment facility, we will be doing another discharge here the month of December, so we'll be wrapping things up out there right around Thanksgiving, pre-sampling, discharging, and then transferring water to certain cells as they need them throughout the winter, so we have enough storage for the rest of the winter. Street department, lower blacktop was last week we put out, poured some concrete last week, and we're pretty much done. All those plants are shut down for the year. That's pretty much taken care of. There'll be pothole filling as always. I mention this all the time. You see a couple nasty ones, give us a call, let us know where they are. We go out once every 2 weeks and fill a couple odds and ends. So if you want to report those, feel free to call City Hall, Public Works, whoever, tell somebody, let me know. Go ahead and take care of. Cemeteries are shut down for the year. However, burials are still happening. We just had one last Saturday. Other than that, though, for the most part, they all are winterized. Campground is the same way. Winterized and pretty much put to bed for the winter. The arena, the new compressors are working well. Ice is all in, practices are going, games are going. They had some form of college, JV college. UD hockey was there this weekend. I think that was kind of cool. I thought that was kind of neat to see that. I ended up there for an hour for 1 hour on Saturday. Storm sewer, that's same old. The gardeners are pretty much shut down for the winter. Recycling shed is up and running with the extended hours as talked about a meeting ago. And got some other stuff to touch on later, but that's all I have for now. Yeah,
Did we ever get advertising out for the extended hours on the brush pile?
The sign up at the shed, I
I
believe.
did not get it posted on Facebook yet, but there is a sign at the shed.
There is a sign at the shed. Yep. Yep. Anything else?
Just a quick question, you said that the cement plants are shut down?
Yes.
Okay.
And hot mix plants are, yep.
Okay. Does someone else have a question? Okay. Very good, thank you, Phil, appreciate it. 4D Technology / Library Department, IT monthly update,
Liquor store first.
if you want to. Good cover.
Members of the council, Mayor Shaw, Administrator Owens. I handed this out, just upcoming events, just to show you kind of what's going on. November 8th is already come and gone, but Brady Cruz coming down to the Muni on November 23rd. He's great. I know him personally. He's moved away, so we're lucky that he's bringing his talents. He's coming to town, I think probably just after hunting or something. But he's awesome. He'll have a good following. He's a local guy, graduated from here. The Rowdy Gents we've had before, they're always good. And then Donnie Buck has a big following around the area, so that'll be a good show too.
Did you mention Sav and Ike?
Yeah, that date's already come and gone, so,
Oh, that,
yep, past it. Hopefully we can get to a point where I'm showing you December's and January's, so we'll get there. But just for your information, let's see, we're going through some credits we have, so, dip down on some expenses and use up some credits that we might have with some vendors, so that's been going great. And Gardner will be in sometime in the middle of December to finish up that HVAC thermostat project that we approved before. So, any questions?
How is it working right now? Is it,
Yeah, it's maintaining. It's
Yeah.
cold out, so it doesn't, it's really more in the hotter months that we struggle.
okay, thanks.
Good.
Comments? Thanks, Ryan.
Yep.
On to the next.
IT, going through the list of priority workstations, that will be in the budget, but just making sure we're ideally selecting the right ones. The state of Minnesota, their IT services department and the BCA has new cybersecurity incident reporting. That starts December 1st. So there's some training and some things that I'll probably hop on to. They ask if you have third party that they're aware of the new reporting too. So I'll make sure that's happening in the background. And then, yeah, we installed the new TV in the hallway there, and that's up and on. I was gonna check with Rory, but I haven't talked to him yet to see if everything's working perfect, but seems to be. Yeah, that's IT.
Very good. Questions?
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. Good job. Moving on to 4E, City Engineer, report for November 7th, 2024.
Yes, as always, there are a lot of items on the engineering agenda. Most of them we'll actually cover in the meeting in one way, shape, or form. But I did want to highlight the fact that, as previously communicated, the city was contacted by the Senate Capital Investment Committee regarding the 2024 bonding bill that did not pass legislation. And so the city engaged in a project update with the Senate Capital Investment Committee on October 16th. We've not heard anything back since the presentation, but the representatives were really supportive. In addition, Senator Rarick's office has requested that we provide an updated cost estimate for that citywide lining project relevant to the bonding bill request. And so we'll continue to work through that with the engineers and provide the necessary information. While we are kind of in this interim period, we are also seeking additional funding options. So if the city were awarded any money through the bonding bill, that we would then have opportunities to have our match requirements met through as many grants as possible. So one of those is the MPCA Water Resiliency Grant. Our engineers have already applied to that one. They are in the process of checking to see whether or not that can be utilized as a match. The city should expect results from that application the first week of December. So we'll keep council updated on that. In addition, there is an MPCA sewer overflow and stormwater reuse grant. That's a new one that they found. The engineer group felt that it's a really great match as far as televising is concerned. And so they are going to be applying for that in the next week. The max award for that is $150,000. There's no local match required for that one. They are also checking to make sure that that MPCA monies could be utilized as a match for a bonding project as well. So, other than that, everything else we should either cover, or if you have any questions, please let me know, as always.
Questions? Thank you. Moving on to 4F Chamber of Commerce updates.
Yeah, the chamber is in the process of looking at the 2025 budget and working through event committees to finalize plans for upcoming events. They're also working on the annual dinner, and so there'll be more information to come on that. Trying a new networking event called Vibe at 5. The first one will take place February 20th at the Essentia Health Medical Center. In addition to that, other information regarding events and holiday activities are also available on the chamber website if anybody's looking for information.
Thank you. Any questions from the council? Did they apply for any of the monies out of the gambling fund this year?
No.
Okay. And we just had one submission.
Yep, we had one submission, and the city did issue the check for the NHS student council opportunity.
Yeah.
And I spoke with their advisor. They are going to come to the December meeting to provide a little presentation on their experience at their event. So.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Moving on to number 5, previously discussed business, letter A, Public Works, hiring discussion.
Yeah, so this, essentially there's an opportunity to revisit a hiring discussion. There has been some discussion at previous meetings with council regarding a Public Works employee need. I did request that Superintendent Etner provide a little bit more information regarding operations at other local utilities in the area, whether it be, other utilities in the city and or other entities, local government entities that are similar or same size as us. And so that was included in the packet. In addition, I know that there were questions that were brought forward regarding the cost to fill the part-time position that is currently vacant and or move to a full-time position. So I do have some more information to share on that as well. And so we sat down and we did a little analysis. The cost with benefits for a full-time employee is right around $82,000. Now the cost for the part-timer is a little bit harder to determine. I mean, standard wage, and then there are some overtime costs affiliated with part-time employment based on scheduling conflicts and needs and plowing, things of that nature that happen in a way that cannot be controlled. So between the wage and overtime, the part-time position would come in right about $37,000. As highlighted in Superintendent Etner's communication to council, we're currently staffed with 3 full-time staff members to run the 2 city utilities and the Public Works Department. If you're looking at the water and light utility, which was assessed, they have the 1 utility and they have the 5 full-time employees. The city of Carlton, with a population of right around 960, they have 2 full-timers and 2 part-timers. The city of Mora, with a population of 3,787, they have 5 full-time employees and 3 part-timers. We are operating with 3 full-timers and 10 part-timers across all Public Works departments and our 2 utilities
So we have 3 full-time positions as of right now.
currently.
Does that include Phil?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So wanted to bring more information forward as these discussions evolve. I think a couple of items that have been in discussion between internally with staff. We talked about the cost of training and turnover with our 10 part-timers. That is an obstacle or a hurdle, so to speak, that we work through with utilizing as many part-timers as we do. Just something to consider and bring forward. Another Another item that has been discussed with council and independently internally as well is the need for CDL holders. So we currently have 5 plow routes. That includes the trail maintenance and the portion of Arrowhead now that the city maintains.
Parking lots, alleys, and then all the streets.
Yeah, so we have 5 plow routes, we have 3 full-time guys, and then when we utilize 2 part-timers and/or another full-timer, that's where that overtime piece comes in. We're kind of puzzle piecing in with our plowing efforts, with every snow activity. And year to year, some years that's not a huge issue, and then some years it's a significant issue if there's lots of snowfall. So that's one dynamic that we're working through. And in addition, with the training, we do have a need for on-call with our utilities. And so when we're going through the training process with part-time employees, there is challenges that come with the training, because then we have double the employees on call, because we can't put the part-timers on call without proper training alone. So then we have 2 staff members on call during the training process. So some of those things are things that we've discussed and just wanted to bring forward for the dialogue, and wanted to answer some of the questions that were brought forward by council previously.
I will add, a lot of these cities are doing their own blacktopping. Everyone fills potholes, but as far as blade patches, like you see us doing, they don't do their own concrete work, which we do. And one city takes care of one cemetery, the other one does not, we see 2. So.
How many of our guys have CDL?
CDLs? 4.
Okay, great.
Do they need a CDL to do the trails and stuff?
Not to do the trails, no.
So in other words, anytime they go on the highway, they have to have a CDL, or do they have to have a CDL to be in the pickup?
In the dump trucks, they do. In the dump trucks, they do, yep. I also don't want to keyhole ourselves by not having a CDL holder, because then I want anyone in that shop to be able to jump in any piece of equipment, and we don't. Yeah.
So
And
even if
we're
it's-
better off if they have a CDL, period, right?
Absolutely.
So part of the part-time requirement for hiring is a CDL.
Correct.
I mean, that's a good practice from my point of view.
Yeah, and we would do that same thing again for part-time.
Great. Or Doug,
You
excuse
can call
me.
me Doug if you want.
Doug.
Just a quick thing that what you brought up is about the blacktop and cement work. I don't think we're comparing things exactly the same, because Carlton and Moore, how many departments do you oversee? Because they're just public works.
11.
You oversee 11, so your job is not necessarily just
I'm
in
not
public
in public
works.
works. I mean, if you were to look at the hours a week I put in public works, it's not very
So you have direct oversight of 11 departments.
Right.
Yeah, when we developed the city superintendent, you were actually moved out of public works. You oversee public works, you oversee the parks,
Right.
you oversee the cemeteries, you oversee the arena. That is a big difference than a supervisor in one of these cities. Totally different. However, I know you are working in a full-time position in public works, which
Correct.
complicates things. And I know in your discussion with all your employees, are there any getting close to retirement
There is?
in public works?
Yes.
So some of the discussions that we've had is it takes about 2 years to get somebody up to speed, so,
With licensing requirements.
with licensing requirements for the utilities, not public works. So there's that dynamic in play too, and whether or not council feels this is the time to be proactive with that training period or not.
And that's where I'm going, is I want to focus on our future, the future for Moose Lake, and try to make sure that we can set ourselves up for success. Food and sand. So when someone retires, we're okay. We're still firing on all 8 cylinders or whatever we got, right? And still getting everything taken care of. Where before, we've been trying to play catch up ever since I've been here.
Chris?
I was just gonna make a comment when you're talking about how many departments he oversees. Well, and with that comes all the same employees, so it's not like you have, a lot of separate employees from each one of these 11 departments. A lot of them are covering
Multiple.
2, 3, 4, 5,
Wearing lots of hats.
6,
Yeah.
7, 8.
Yep.
And that's what we have to do. I mean,
Yeah.
that's, and it works. Because I don't think, we couldn't afford it to do it the other way.
So right now, this, okay, we had previously discussed, you, as administrator, looking at a hiring process starting now.
So, because the discussions were suspended, Superintendent Etner has been working insane hours because we have we've not filled the original vacancy for the part-time while we analyzed and assessed whether or not this was the time to move to another full-time or replace the part-timer. So it would be nice at this point in time to have direction from council, whether we're immediately hiring for a part-timer or whether or not we're immediately hiring for a full-timer.
Yes, sir.
I know what some of the people at town will say about this. They'll say that, well, we've been able to run the department with 3 current full-time employees till this point. Why would we not be able to keep doing that in the future? But one thing that is occurring is that we have this new development going in up by the school, and tomorrow will be the ribbon cutting ceremony to be starting in that expansion. And we also look at the city's past as infrastructure has grown in areas like John Brown Drive and Talbot Drive. So there has been an increase in roads and infrastructure, sewer and water lines over the last 15, 20 years since the Talbots and that. So there has been some increases. And with this new expansion up by the school, there will be more infrastructure to be taken care of, the sewer, the water, more plowing. And hopefully there will still be more development going in up there. We just don't quite know when. You know, that the school still has quite a bit of land up there to be developed, some of it's business, some of it's residential. So I do see that the city has expanded and is going to be expanding more here in the future. So I can see more of a need in that area. One of the negatives that I see about it is that we've been able to make some savings with the elimination of the police department. And I'd like to see some of those savings, you know, if you take some of that savings from the police department and then you're just putting it into another department, you're not really making the full savings, but we would be making more of a savings in the PD than what this would cost. But I would still like to see some of the savings that we've been able to make in the PD, you know, go towards infrastructure in the future, and that would be decided in future meetings on what that would entail. But I just see that, you know, the town has expanded and will continue to expand, hopefully. And I just wanted to bring those issues to the rest of the public and the councilors and mayor. Some of the things that I've thought about with this.
Walt, I'll add too, sorry.
I was going to do the
I
same
didn't
thing.
see it, sorry. Go ahead.
So, Councilor Lauer, to expand upon that too, later on in the packet, we're gonna be talking about, you know, establishing planning for, and, you know, engineering and process for the gravel pit, and we have a state mandated lead service inventory requirement, and we have our 2025 lining project, and so, I mean, there's a lot of other things that we're adding in that affects those departments as well. and planning for the city superintendent, engaging from an administrative perspective as well, that, you know, we're continuing to try and do more and more and more, while already operating pretty lean.
Go ahead, Phil, I know you had a question, then I'll get you, Greg.
Walt, I'll add to your comment there. In 2017, the city of Moose Lake signed a maintenance agreement with MnDOT to maintain the sidewalks on Arrowhead Lane along with the right-of-ways, which all the gardens and the trees that look amazing, and the sidewalks people walk on all winter long. They signed that agreement, which is fine, but someone's got to do it, if it falls on us. 3 years ago, we signed a maintenance agreement on a trail to the school. That's over a mile long, that adds 4 miles of plowing, because it's 4 passes with another person. And tonight, I think it's tonight, you're gonna sign another maintenance agreement for the new portion of the trail that's not constructed yet for next year. And that's gonna add another almost mile of trail. So I mean, the city is growing, and it's great. It absolutely is a wonderful thing to see happening. But I mean, we haven't talked about even the stormwater piping that's under all those trails that we look at and we use and we enjoy. Or any of the water or the sewer main that's under any of that stuff, or any of the blacktop that's gonna be replaced, the concrete bed ramps that are gonna be replaced. There's a lot there. It's a huge asset to the city. All of it is, and I absolutely love it. But it does take people, and it takes time and resources, money, to maintain it.
There's another part that we aren't talking about either, and that is the part on the gravel pit and stuff like that. There's the city's actually gonna end up making money or saving money, which is making money, and somebody has to take control of that, and that is making money for us, and there happens to be a gentleman that has to keep track of that, and that would end up actually being part of the salary of, basically, we would actually be Phil's salary, because he's the one that has to take care of that. So actually, his job is actually somewhat paid for from another position at, say, the gravel pit part of it, so his salary is not necessarily all coming out of the taxpayers' money. So here we are back to, can the city support another person where this next person would be paid from the taxpayers, where part of the taxpayers' money wouldn't be there because it doesn't have to be there because Bill isn't there, or something like that. If you can keep that straight, then you'll help me out.
I understand what you're saying. I think from an administrative perspective, from everybody's chair, I mean, all of our activities, we're trying to make sure that we don't cost the taxpayer anything. So whether it's grants or savings or revenue generating activities, the goal of all of us is to make sure that we're covering the cost of our employment with the efforts and what we're able to facilitate. And so this is another example of that as well.
Well, I think the long-term possibilities of the gravel pit is huge. We're talking about huge amounts of money that the city can save.
That will be a major game changer
Huge.
for this community. Major.
300,000 per million.
30%.
Yeah.
Yep. That's huge. So that is a large amount of money coming in from that, and the sooner it's up and running, the better. There's something else that we haven't talked about, which we'll hit on a little bit later, and that everyone knows we're in mediation with the sewer district, and there may be more infrastructure coming, depending on how that goes. And we can't go into it any farther than that. So there's other possibilities going on that are gonna add to, we're close, if all goes well. So, any further questions or discussion? If not, go ahead. Looked like you had something you wanted to say.
Based on the previous dialogue, the preliminary budget that was presented in September did account for one more full-time public works staff. And so, based on council's decision tonight, could be modified, but it is right now within the 2025 budget, at this time.
And we would not be going after a part-time that would disappear.
Correct.
It would fall into that
Right.
position. So there is a close to 50%.
Correct.
Is covered by the part-time anyway.
Correct.
Okay. Council? Motion and or any questions?
I'll make a motion that we hire a full-time employee in the Public Works Department in place of the part-time position that was
Yeah.
retired.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Phil. I guess you have the next one, Riverside Arena Cooling System Replacement and Mighty Ducks Grant Update.
Actually, I don't.
You don't?
The project has been completed at the arena. The ice is obviously in. Things are going really well. The city submitted for the reimbursement through the grant portal. We've not seen the funds back, but that process has concluded. Initial energy savings from water and light, we're reading around a 30% energy efficiency savings. Right now, I checked with the office manager there. They're still reading about 24% energy efficiency savings. We've had a little bit of warmer weather here. So all is well, and I will continue to update the council once the reimbursement for the grant has been received. But the project has been completed and it's a success.
Very good, thank you. Moving on to 5C, flagpole discussion. I want to tackle that.
So it was requested by a representative of the American Legion that the city have discussion at a council level regarding the city's contribution for additional engineering. So just to provide a little bit of background again and a reminder of previous events, the Legion obtained the flagpole from the old school, and they've put a little bit of work into it. There's a design, a memorial design that has been established for the city park. The city engaged, the project is spectacular. The city engaged from an engineering perspective based on requirements of installation and how the pole needed to be set. That was brought forward to the American Legion. A request has been made to set the pole in a different way, I guess how it was done in 1920-ish, so that it's authentic. And so the engineers reviewed some of that data initially, and they had come out with their plan, so to speak, but now there's been some updates that have been provided. So we've spent about $1,200 from an engineering perspective on this already. We do have an approved method of installation. The city has made a request to the Legion that aesthetically they make the pole look as it did
Back in the
back
original,
in the
right.
original.
It's like putting a facade on the pole.
Correct.
To make it look like it was original back when it was first installed.
But to utilize from the engineering perspective, from the ground down that you cannot see, to utilize the presented
Right.
engineering plan. At that point in time, the Legion is still requesting that the city engage in more monies to,
Well, I think the way I understood it, with being at the meeting, and when we left, their discussion was that they were fine with what I suggested and Phil suggested, put the pole in as designed, because that is already approved by engineer group. The only thing would be adding in the facade portion on the base of the pole, which would be 2 flanges with bolts through it, and it's just for looks.
Be a decorative discussion.
That's all, it's decorative.
Right.
And if the council approves that, we can send it to them. Are you thinking something else, Phil? I can see it in your eyes.
I'm thinking, but I'm not, no.
We have a approved design,
That's
which
right.
they can put the pole in, although you just told us the plant is down till next spring.
So you can, okay, so you can still get ready mix if you need. It's not
Okay.
easy to get it, it's twice the money, and no one wants to put it down and try to get cure time on it in 5 days with this weather.
Yeah.
So for us, it's not. If they want to, yeah, they can fight it. I wouldn't recommend it.
No, I wouldn't either. But I think what they're asking is, what I'm asking, I guess, a motion from the council, to accept the engineering design as they sent it to us, approved by them, and then let the Legion put the facade portion on it, which has no structural purpose at all. It's for looks.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, so it is official, motion.
Got it.
Yes.
Who seconded that? I made it.
Who seconded it? Walter?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 5D, duty, disability, health insurance reimbursement update.
Yeah, just a quick update. We have finished all of our submissions and got approval from the Minnesota Department of Public Safety. It's coming in a little less, but we expect the monies anytime now. It comes in at $89,400. Any questions? Yes, sir.
What was the total cost of the PTSD reimbursement? I mean, not the reimbursement, but the total cost for the year?
For healthcare, I do not have that on the sheet, sorry.
I thought I remembered at one time it was 120 a year.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Alyssa.
Listen.
So, this reimbursement did not run calendar year, so it incorporated months prior to the change in union, which affected the health insurance costs. So it had some of the reimbursement amounts for the health insurance at the lower rate and some at the higher rate. So the cost to the city moving forward is $120,000. But it will be, am I stating this right?
Year to
You're
date,
gonna be close. I would wanna do the math first before I give you an actual figure. She's 100% right. I mean, it was July to June, and there was a union change. There were different things that are gonna make this amount look different than the next amount.
Correct. The cost for the next amount would be 120. The cost for this was less because it did not run calendar year.
Right.
And that change, the insurance change happened mid reimbursement period.
Okay,
That's the
thank
best
you.
way to say it.
Yep. Any other questions?
no, thank you.
Yep. Thanks.
So this will go immediately into the fund for police contract with county or city contract for next year.
So the monies will be booked in 2024. The monies will be booked to the law enforcement police department in 2024.
Very good. Question, any other questions on council? Moving on to new business. 6A, Resolution 24-11-01, resolution canvassing November 5th, 2024, municipal election returns and declaring results.
So this is a resolution that is canvassing the results of the November 5th election for the city. Council has received the canvassing information within the packet, and then had visibility again today to the summary.
And I think everybody signed that document.
Yes.
Okay. So if any questions in our motion to approve resolution 24-11-01?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to 6B, Moose Lake City Campground seasonal rate discussion.
Good evening, council, mayor, Administrator Owens. We have, at the park board meetings the past couple of months, been discussing ways to increase revenues in the campground. In doing this analysis, it was brought to our attention that we could do some reorganizing of seasonal sites with the water and electric sites that do not get occupied nightly at as high of a rate as some of the other sites. In addition to that, it was identified that our rates are significantly lower than a lot of the campgrounds in our area that provide similar services, as well as what is called out for our region, the Midwest region, in the Outdoor Hospitality Industry Benchmarking Report for 2023. Our rates were, or are currently at $2,100 for standard sites. These do not have sewer. They are at $2,500 for premium sites. These ones do have sewer. We are proposing, or the park board has approved and recommended an increase of $400 for those standard sites up to $2,500 and $300 for the premium sites up to $2,800. What we were seeing in the hospitality industry benchmarking report was that the average is anywhere from $750 to $970 a month. Our season runs for 4.5 months, so this would equate to around $4,300 per season, and we are at $2,100 and $2,500. The Bent Trout Lake Campground in Bardom charges $2,300 per season, but that does not include their electricity. Our rates include all utilities. The Sturgeon Lake Campground Timberline RV Resort is charging $2,900, $3,100, and $3,400 for standard, deluxe, and prime sites. The difference between those are utility access, and also I believe the prime ones were directly on the lake. We do not have seasonal sites on our lake. This campground also charges electric separately. Cloquet has 2 campgrounds that I was able to find pricing for. They're the Spafford Park, $2,650 for standard, $2,875 for premium, and then Big Lake Shores was $2,750 plus electric for standard, $2,900 for premium. So this increase of $2,100 to $2,500 and $2,500 to $2,800 seems to be very much in line, even a little bit low still for the campgrounds in our area. So just looking for council approval to add this to the 2025 fee schedule. I have been in contact with a bunch of people from our wait list that are waiting for seasonal sites now that Park Board has approved the expansion, and not a single one of them has batted an eye at the price. So it seems like it's pretty standard and what they were expecting.
Council, discussions, questions? Motion?
Motion to approve.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Taylor, good job. Moving on to 6E, 2025 tobacco license renewals.
That was me too, wasn't it?
No, that's okay.
Sorry.
So in the packet, the council received the 2025 tobacco license applications. They are the same as in years past.
However, one has not returned theirs yet.
Yep, so we're still waiting on one, but these are what we have right now. This is the time of year when we go through these processes, so are looking for approval of what has currently been submitted.
Questions or discussion by the council? Has there been any reported problems with any of these businesses?
I would also note that we do not have stogies on there for tobacco licenses. They were removed as they are no longer operating.
Okay, thank you. Motion by the council?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Under 6D, 2025 liquor license renewals.
Again, these are the requests for licenses, and we are still awaiting one, yes. But these are what we have right now, and looking for a motion from council to approve. We've not had any issues with any of these licensees at all.
Thank you. Discussion by the council? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to 6E, Personnel Committee Appointment Discussion. This is something that I asked to be put on. Tonight, I'm going to step down from the Personnel Committee, and that means a mayor pro temp will step in. I know everyone knows that this elections are done and things have changed. So I'm going to step away from that. And Doug, that'll be your position starting tomorrow in the Personnel Committee. Now in December, I'll go through with Alyssa all the board appointments for the following year. And then that will be presented for the council preview in December, and then in January, when you do the reorganizational meeting, that's when you do all the approvals. So I don't know if there has been much discussion, Doug, but that's just something that I'm doing. Does council have any questions on that? All right. Do you, Doug?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Moving on to 6F, Police Protections Liaison Discussion.
This was brought forward in Personnel Committee discussions regarding our new law enforcement services contract. Within the appointments, the city has had a counselor and currently Counselor Huso as a police liaison. And so the discussions came forward about whether or not what that role would look like moving forward, and whether or not it needed to continue to be an appointment. I voiced my recommendation that we continue to have that role, so to speak. I think it's really valuable to have council interaction as far as our law enforcement services contract is in regards to that, and also continued council engagement on any emergency preparedness meetings and things like that that occur between the city and the county in regards to law enforcement in general. So I would like to see the position and appointment held. We've talked about changing the name of it, as it might look a little different moving forward. And so looking for consensus from council to maintain that appointment. We're looking for to change it to a law enforcement liaison role. And so that would be part of what is presented at December's meeting.
I just have a quick question. You would still be the point of contact is we've discussed in the past, and then if Chris chose to stay in that position, it would just look different. Is that what you're saying?
Correct, so the current agreement cites the city administrator as the point of contact between both entities. But from an engagement piece, just like our other boards and committees, having council engagement is so important. And so there would be that extra layer of involvement for discussions and needs as they arise. It just looks different now.
Because it could be either you calling to discuss with them or they calling you for discussion, and that's where you and Chris working together as a team to face that. And during regular negotiations, then it would fall back to the personnel committee interacting with the contract process. So it's kind of like how it's been done up till now.
Sounds good, thank you.
Excellent.
So I should ask for consensus on that, Greg?
Can I disagree?
Of course you can.
No.
Yeah, consensus.
I'm looking at it, I'm leaving.
Short time there.
Chris?
Yes.
Yes. So we have consensus and we'll ahead with that.
Thank you.
You should ask all the
Thank you, Greg. All right, 6G, 2024 sewer lining project. This is pay application final.
Yes, so in the council packet, there's the final pay application for the 2024 sewer lining project. This was just the retainage, and so the amount due for this application is $1,325.94.
Questions by the council or a motion?
Motion to pay.
Do you have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carried. Is there anything at all left, or do we get, everything is done?
I haven't got flash drives yet, but they're coming next week, I was told.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Moving on to 6H, 2024 sewer lining project, and this is project acceptance, excuse me.
Yes, so in the council packet, there is a letter from the project manager with SEH, Tyler, and they are recommending that the city of Moose Lake accept the project. All the project details were included in the council packet. Just looking for formal acceptance.
Any questions by the council? Do we have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carried. Moving on to 6I. This is the 73 Trail Project Phase 2 Carleton County Agreement.
Yes, so as with the other phases of the trail project, when the city is awarded certain types of grants, the county is required to act as the city's fiscal agent and contract administrator for the project. This contract reads almost exactly as the one that was executed for phase 1 of the project. It kind of outlines what the city shall do moving forward, and then what the county obligations are. Just to highlight, as Superintendent Ettner had mentioned, within this agreement, the city is accepting that we will be maintaining the trail moving forward following project completion. And then the terms are very standard. We'll engage in the engineering and design and have already been meeting with the county on the project as well.
I just have one question. I know I asked it at the engineer meeting. Do we get a final cost of the trail, and did it all fit within the grant dollars?
So they are currently at 80% design. Right now, it all fits in. We are looking to have the design completed here in the coming weeks. They're still going through the easement process, but they reached the 80% design, which then allowed them to, it was the trigger for these other types of agreements. Right now, the project is within budget, and the instruction has been that we will be utilizing all grant money for the facilitation of this project, and so we'll make sure we stay within those thresholds. It is fully funded by grant money.
Thank you. Are we looking for a motion to accept the Carrollton County agreement?
Yes.
Council,
So moved. So moved.
do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, thank you. 6J, this is a short Elliott Hendrickson Incorporated supplemental letter agreement, Moose Lake gravel pit.
So this supplemental letter agreement is the same as council has seen for other projects with the engineer group. Essentially, we are establishing a project for billing purposes and just kind of identifying that the city intends to continue to engage with SEH on this particular project. So this letter agreement is in reference to the gravel pit project.
Council, questions or motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to 6K, short Elliott Hendrickson Incorporated supplemental letter agreement, lead service inventory and replacement.
Yes, so once again, this is establishing and identifying the project. These engagement agreements help us, once we get to the point of working on a project where the SLA comes into effect, it's actually, the city is then going to be able to track and monetize project costs versus it going into the city's general engineering monies. So this helps the city too from an accounting and budgeting perspective, because our projects then are identified per line item and per department versus just coming out of general engineering. So that's a little bit more background, but this particular supplemental letter agreement is for the lead service line inventory and replacement. And on the next agenda item, we'll get into that a little further, but this is establishing this project.
Questions by the council or motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to L, SEH lead service line inventory notification letter to city residents.
Okay, so in the council packet, the council received the two different types of letters that'll be going out. What occurred is there was a state mandate for cities to inventory their lead service lines throughout their jurisdiction. Luckily, in 2018, the city engaged in inspections for sump pumps, and in going door to door, a line item was added in the tracking documents that helped us, without us knowing moving forward, that we would need the information. So the city was able to provide the engineers with a lot of information regarding the status of residents' service lines. And so that information has been turned over. With that, the engineers have analyzed the data. What's occurring right now is residents who have an unknown type of service line. So if the city was unable to gain access in 2018, they will be receiving a notification regarding the requirement and the need to establish what their service line is composed of. And so that letter was provided in the council packet for your review. In addition, if it's been identified that a resident has a galvanized service line, There's the potential that a lead gooseneck was utilized, and so those residents will also be getting a different notice talking about their galvanized service line. We wanted to make sure that council had visibility to the types of notices that are going out to residents in case questions come forward. We will also be posting information on the city website regarding this process. What this looks like moving forward, we're in a little bit of a holding pattern. So right now we are engaging in the inventory, working with the engineers regarding shoring that information and that data collection up. And we are also waiting because it looks like there could potentially be monies available in the near future for replacement of the lead service lines. And so throughout this interim period, we'll be working with the engineers to establish whether or not when those monies become available, we'll be prepared then to submit and get monies to help replace those lines that need to be replaced. So this is the beginning, middle of the process, depending upon how you look at it. A lot of our legwork was already completed, which is excellent because it's a very timely process to inventory. Residents will be getting these letters. They went out this week. And so you may or may not get questions. If anybody has questions, there is contact information on all of the notices, and they can utilize the contact information provided to make their inquiries.
I got one question for Phil.
Mhm.
You know, I remember when we did this, did we inventory the galvanized pipe at that time also? Or just the lead?
So we did it all, so, hold on a second. In 18, when we did sump pump inspections, we added a column in the bottom of the frame for water service information and meter sizes. So we had that at our fingertips, so we don't need to go into your house to figure out what size meter you have, or what model, or what service line you have, or what size, or what make. We had all but 26 addresses that we had captured by doing that. We didn't fast forward 6 years, we didn't realize that all that information would be that helpful for this process, which it was, so that was fantastic. With that being said, we did not do anything other than just observe what was in the house for water services.
Right.
There was nothing, at that time, there was nothing, because this is all coming out of the state and then from the federal level as far as lead service lines. But at that time, we didn't do anything, as there was no requirement to do so.
Okay, so, you know, there's lead, there's galvanized. What else would have been used? Of course, copper.
Copper.
What else? Anything?
Polyethylene, so PE, plastic.
Sure.
And your original question, Mayor Shaw, when you said, did we inventory galvanized? We did.
So yeah.
So those residents will be getting that particular notice.
If that's what.
That's
if
what I
didn't
was
understand-
asking.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the
No.
question.
And usually it went by years, you know, do you remember the years galvanized went in?
Yeah.
Because we looked that up, I remember.
Not off the top of my head, yes, I know there's a year, there's a
Type
time
of
frame.
like 40 to 50.
I think it
or-
was something like, I think it might even have been into the 60s a little bit, until
Okay.
switching copper.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else with questions? Hearing none, that's all informational right now, correct?
Correct.
All right, we're moving on to M 2025 sewer lining project cleaning and televising quotes.
So in the packet, there's 2 quotes for cleaning and televising for a proposed 2025 lining project if we decide to do that. In order to bid the project, we need to do this work first. It's the initial cleaning and televising, so we know what we're building as a project to put out there for bid. There's 2 quotes here. Neither contractor would give me a hard number. They just gave me hourlies due to where its location was and the lack of access. We have a quote from Vision Sewer, and you guys can take it however you like. I'm thinking we'll just do it by the hour, if that's what you want to do. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to find it and I can't.
Just
Sorry.
gonna let them struggle.
You are, but I greatly appreciate how.
So is there one you recommend? of the
I've worked
two?
with both of them. I've worked with both of them. One of them is $50 an hour cheaper. This is going awful. Alyssa, you wanna throw me a bone here?
It's 148.
Well, if
148.
if you're happy with the lowest bidder, I mean, that was a big question I had,
Yes, I am happy with the lowest bidder.
and how they.
Here it is. Nelson Sanitation would be $690 an hour, and Issue Sewer is at $630 per hour. So I would recommend both companies. Issue Sewer beat them for sure by a mile. That'd be my recommendation if we want to go down this path.
Well, I think we should plan for it, what happens with other negotiations may cancel. They may be canceled, but you should go ahead with the planning.
We can always build the project and put it on the shelf.
Correct.
So,
So I would recommend the council act on that tonight.
And this one was cheaper, correct?
correct. Yep.
Make a motion to go with this is sewer.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, thank you. Moving on to 6N, Hawkins Incorporated, ferriclorid and acid quote.
Ferrichloric acid is what we use to treat phosphorus removal at the wastewater facility. We usually buy a tanker load, one tanker load every fall. It's typically a lot cheaper price than it is in the spring. We have one quote here because it's state pricing. So pricing is the pricing, and that's from Hawkins for $12,294.94.
This is a standard budget item for the department as well.
I'll make the motion to go with the Hawkins.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Excuse me. Let's see, we're on, resolution 24-11-02, a resolution rescinding previously conditional approval of wastewater treatment flow to the Moose Lake Windermere Sanitary Sewer District. Alyssa?
The resolution that was provided to council was prepared by the city attorneys. We do have ongoing mediation activities occurring at this time. What had been communicated through mediation was that if the city did not have a response by yesterday, that the council would be considering approval of the resolution provided. The city did get a response yesterday from the district. And so what's happening right now is the negotiating team and the city attorneys will review the counter proposal that was provided to the city yesterday. And the recommendation from the city attorney to be shared with council tonight is to table the resolution until December to allow for the negotiating team to continue to work through mediation.
Excuse me. Any questions from the council on the resolution?
Make a motion that we table resolution 24-11-02.
Do I have a second?
I'll say.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried to table. Moving on to, that's P. This is a parking area tent for, part-time arena hire.
Yes, so city staff engaged with a Bryce. Are you? Thank you. With an interview, throughout the interview process for a part-time arena attendant position at Riverside Arena. The city did get the required background check information back today, and the applicant passed with flying colors. So per consult with the personnel committee, we are requesting that the council entertain a motion to hire Bryce Haber. Are you?
You tried.
I'm trying.
Just let her sign.
That's my instant karma.
Council? Discussion or motion?
I'll make the motion that we have a part-time hire at the arena.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to Q, this is a request by Per Gary's parking delivery spot. And I suppose this is part of their business plan to have delivery. And we put signs up for a 3-hour parking limit. And their delivery person could actually come to work in the morning and not make deliveries till later on in the day. And so they're originally asking for 2 spots, but after discussion with them today, if they could have 1, they'd be greatly appreciated. The car would be parked probably on 4th Street, close to the door so the person can grab the pizzas, get in the car, make the delivery, come back, and have a place where they can park to pick up more and they continue doing their deliveries. I looked in the back of their business and they have their dumpster there. There really isn't room to put a delivery person there. If they park, they block the whole, pretty much the whole alleyway going back to the other businesses. So I wanted to open that up as a discussion item with the council.
Are they looking for a spot to be designated only for Port Gary's delivery spot?
Delivery spot, right.
I have some other questions about that. We had voted to get rid of the first parking spot, and then the second parking spot was going to be for compact cars.
Correct.
And I've seen where they painted the lines downtown there. I'm wondering if the yellow part needs to be painted more, because if you look down there in one spot, the yellow line is really small and it doesn't go all the way up to the first parking spot. So I'm wondering if that needs to be addressed. Are you aware of
Yep.
what I'm talking about?
We did skip the first spot,
Mhm.
because there was a line way out where there shouldn't be. Like, almost would have been in the crosswalk if it needed to be on there. The next one was for, gonna be for compact cars, which I haven't figured out how we're gonna sign that yet, which is why it's not marked.
But the line is shorter based on it being a compact site? Is-
Oh, the actual line itself is shorter?
I'm talking the red, or the yellow line on the curb.
Okay.
You know, I was thinking that one should be painted farther, because, I mean, if you pull in there, it looks like there's still a parking spot there. I mean, somebody could mistake it for a parking spot.
Is it on the south side of the road?
Yeah, we would have to go down there and just look at it and,
I think you'd have to have permission from the business owner to put the sign right on the wall, because there's no other way you can do it, Phil.
Correct.
I think that'd be what you'd have to do. I would suggest if since we have a compact car right there, it wouldn't make sense to have that as a Port Gary's parking delivery spot. It would have to be the next one if the council approved that. So I guess open that up for discussion. Yes, Chris?
I guess the only issue I have is it's kind of opening the door up for other businesses. You have the florist, when I run the florist, you know, you had, say you had a funeral or wedding or something, you know, major flowers to be bringing out the front door, and you couldn't ever find a spot because it was all lined. So I mean, that's opening up the door for them to ask for a spot for loading. I don't know what other businesses along there, they would have the need for it, but
I don't know. If they had a spot in the back of the business, that would solve it, but they don't. The person would have to park in one of the parking lots, because if they come in the morning, in 3-hour time period, they would have to move the car, and once they move it, they may not get a spot again. I don't know. I don't know the answer for that. If they park in the parking lot, they'll have to carry the pizzas over to the parking lot and then make the delivery. Yes, Greg?
They lose it now. If they make a delivery, they lose the spot now. So what's the difference?
Right, well, I think the thing is that they come in the morning to work,
Yeah, I know.
and they have to, they can't park there because it's a 3-hour parking spot.
So,
So you'd have to designate a spot for their delivery person. That's what they're asking. It's up to the council, if whatever you want, it's what will be passed on to them.
Deliveries are an essential part of their business, so I can understand their concern. I understand what you're saying as well.
but, okay, you're saying that, never mind.
Well, when you do things like this, there's always things that we can't plan for when you put a 3-hour limit on parking. I noticed that there sure is a lot of empty spots every day, though. That really did clear up 4th Street.
Well, so then why couldn't they park a little farther up if they come back and their spot is gone? If they come in the morning even at 9, I would assume they'd be making a delivery by 11 or noon, you know, at least 1.
You know, I don't know. If they don't, then they have to go out and move their car because you can't, you got a 3-hour limit. Which is gonna be, you guys are gonna face a problem with that. How are you gonna police that?
Exactly.
I don't know how you police that. When we did this before, Walter, and you remember this, our own police department said, no, we're not going to police that. Said it's impossible. You'd have to go around every couple hours, that's 2 hours it was back then, somehow write down the car license plate or mark the tire or whatever, and then come back around, and our own department said they wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I'm aware of that problem. One thing that it allows is that if you have a problem case, somebody that keeps abusing it day after day after day, having it,
You can report it.
you can report it, and the business owner, who's ever the vehicle's parking in front, it gives them a way to deal with the problem. If they bring it to the attention of the authorities, then they have some standing to stand on to say that, hey, we need to have this vehicle, and it gives you the right to say something about it. And you deal with the worst offenders.
I don't think we've had any complaints on the 3-hour signage right now. I think it worked really good. It's just one incident that has come up, whether you want to address it or not. If you want to think about it till next month, I mean, it's up to the council on this one.
Well, I'm willing to think about it for another month.
Council, anything else?